It's my hand gesture. This is We're Live Hands. Welcome back, everybody. It's been so long. It's been so long, yeah. That's a ooh, nice.
Little can of beverage.
Can of beverage. Important can of beverage time. All right, let's hop into it.
Cylinder ale.
Cracked the knuckles. That's a thing people do in real life.
Talking KBO.
KBO. The KBO. All right, let's do it. Welcome in to the DNVR Rockies podcast presented by Strava Craft Coffee. Easy for me to say. It's much easier for me to drink than it is for me to say because it keeps you nice and anxiety-free. And you can get 20% off your next order using that promo code DNVR20. I am your host, Drew Kreisman. I am the managing editor of DNVR Rockies. With me, as almost always, is our beat writer, Patrick Lyons. And on this episode, at long last, DNVR dives headfirst, or maybe quite frankly, ass first, into the KBO, the Korean Baseball Organization. Why? The answer is simple. Because it's baseball. It's the baseball that we have. It is professional baseball played by professional baseball players. And watching and talking about that is what we do here. And so I think there are a lot of people out there who are probably feeling like maybe this is something they want to get into, but they're not sure. And we're going to go right along with everybody here. And, you know, we're all kind of wandering a little bit lost in the woods trying to learn about this, Patrick. But there's baseball on our television screens again. It might be in the middle of the night or first thing in the morning, depending on where you live. But cheers, sir. I cheers my Strava Craft Coffee and a little bit later on my Breck Brew to the return of professional baseball.
That's what it's all about, is baseball is back in any capacity. People get excited for opening night, which is the official opening of the minor league baseball season. It's not the majors, it's the minors, but it's baseball and it's in your town. Right, whether it's a larger minor league city like a Memphis or Nashville or even Albuquerque, or if it's a smaller one like where I'm from in New Jersey, Lakewood, or Grand Junction, any of those places, right? They have an opening night, and we're not talking about the greatest players in the game right now. We're talking about the next tier, and that's still pretty damn great. It's better than anyone that I've played with as far as I can remember. I don't know anyone that ascended to major league status, but we love the game of baseball. And right now it is currently in its highest form in Korea. And there's a lot of connections between the players that are in the KBO right now and their previous history with MLB. We'll get into that, talk about some of the differences, what makes the game different, but shoot, you could watch these games and it's baseball and you go, all right, this is cool. Things are a little bit different. And that's what makes it really special.
Yeah. Let's start with there. I think there's a lot of fun Rockies connections we can dive into, and we're gonna be a little bit all over the place with this, or at least I am, until I feel like I've got my feet underneath me, because we're learning on the fly. And one of the things that I really should have expected. So I've got an article that's coming out here soon, and I don't want to spoil too much of it on my takeaways. The 5 things I really liked from the first full KBO game that I watched. But some of the changes, let's just dive into some of the differences, good and bad. The first one that was just obvious to me because it's such an integral part of the game, like I was saying, that I should have expected, is it's not miles per hour on those pitches. It's kilometers per hour, because the rest of the world is civilized.
Yeah, if you do a little bit of research, you're going to realize how stupid it is that America not only is the only country that uses the imperial system. That's what our system is called, right?
Right.
We know we know using the metric system. That's what it's called, where we have kilometers, right, and whatnot. We know that that's different, but our imperial system um, has almost no rhyme or reason. Where you need 12 inches for 1 foot, and you need only 3 feet for 1 yard, and it's 5,280, a nice round number for
Right.
how many
What?
feet are in a mile. And the kilometer is the metric
It's
system is based on
just
tens.
10. It's just
That's it.
10
It's
every
really
time.
easy. I still don't know it that great, I'll admit it,
I
but
know.
it's frustrating when you dig into it and you're like, this is why didn't we do this? Jimmy Carter was right.
Uh,
We should have
I
stayed with the
know.
metric system.
There's a great Eddie Izzard joke about like the United States of America played with the metric system for like a week like this and was like, I don't want to, just shuffled it around. But it is true. So we say all that, and then of course, well, we are Americans, and I know what an 82-mile-an-hour curveball is, and can put that in context with any number of things the second I see it. Whereas a 130-kilometer-per-hour curveball is going to take some getting used to. Putting those things in context and getting a better idea of it. And yeah, we even talked a little bit about how one of the fastballs came in and we did the quick math and it was 94 miles an hour and they lit up the like, ooh, that's on fire. And we're like, okay. So a little bit lower threshold for that in this league, but just seeing those numbers, every pitch in triple digits, even those words, like we'll say, oh, he hit triple digits on that one. It's like you can't even use that terminology here.
Yeah, that's true. I kind of like that idea because now more players can get into the triple digits. So
Yeah.
it kind of gives you two tiers instead of in America where it's like, hey, if you're not throwing 90, we're not even going to bother looking at you. Now it's like, okay, well, first you got to get to 100 kilometers per hour. You got to get to triple digits, and then beyond that, it's like, all right, if you really want to be a powerhouse, you might need to be throwing in the 130s, 140s. I don't know. I still haven't done the math on
I
that.
don't know. I don't even know what it is anymore yet.
But
Um,
but for anyone that's new jumping in, so yeah, we might be a little all over the place. But here's a little kind of precursor. I wrote something up about why you should care about the KBO. Not too much on the history, but just what is it? Why is it anything? Right? Every country seemingly has a league, but why is the KBO an important one? Well, it's a little more important than the CPBL, the Chinese Professional Baseball League, which is in Taiwan, aka Chinese Taipei. That's been going on for several weeks now. In fact, they might even be approaching a month. That is essentially deemed to be almost like a high A type level. Not a lot of really good players will go there. They don't make a ton of money that they're able to give out on guaranteed contracts. And frankly, not a lot of players from Taiwan actually make it to the majors. It's something like maybe 10 players, something like that. But South Korea, their leagues actually started a little bit less than a decade before Taiwan. So they got their start in 1982. So they've been around for quite some time. There are 10 teams, all on the Korean Peninsula, the southern part, not the northern part,
sure.
and they are almost equivalent to a double A, triple A level. Japan, of course, is the highest. So that's what a lot of players who are in South Korea or are South Korean try to aspire to do is to play over in Japan. And then making the jump from Japan to the majors is a whole other mess that we'll have to maybe have a conversation for another day. But suffice to say, KBO feeds into Japan, and we know have been a lot of really talented players who have come from Japan over to America. So you almost might even say, hey, it's the top minor league system for Japan. That might be a basic way of thinking about it. So there's some really good players that are over there, guys who in America either haven't gotten maybe what they feel to be a fair shot, or guys who, frankly, you know what, instead of making a couple thousands of dollars in the minor leagues because they're not going to be given an opportunity in the majors, they can get guaranteed money. They can get paid $500,000 that they know that they're going to get and are going to be appreciated, are going to be looked at like these superstars. And there's a lot of value in that. So that's kind of where we're starting from as far as the Korean baseball organization goes.
Yeah, it's a really interesting mix, as you would expect. Majority of the players are South Korean nationals, but certainly not all of them. And there are many players from around the world, Americans, Latin American ball players, who you'll find. There are several members of the Rockies organization who, after not doing so well in the big leagues, or maybe flaming out in AAA, talking Eddie Butler, Roberto Ramos, who've gone over to play in the KBO again, because you can make a little money doing it. You can be treated well. You can even kind of go out there. And one of the things I was looking at was, and I made kind of a comment on this, you can kind of let it go a little bit in the KBO, and it's sort of like if you take a big ass hack at a curveball right down the plate, and you miss it, like you're not going to get chewed out when you go back to the dugout, because it seems like everybody does that, and there's no like, hey, take a measured swing, move the runner over, hey, take that the opposite way. We got to do all these things. They seem to let everybody just go up there and do what they're going to do, and I would imagine in several ways, especially if you are kind of that quadruple A talent where you really probably could have stuck around in the majors if you just pushed it, but it wouldn't have been any fun for you. You want to have fun playing baseball? Boy, do they seem like they're having some fun out there.
Yeah, Roberto Ramos is that guy you're kind of alluding to, quadruple A. Hit 30 home runs last year with the Albuquerque Isotopes, over 100 RBI. Same thing, batted over 300. Was really, a guy in that lineup with Sam Hilliard. It was the two of them. They almost had identical stats, but yet when September came around, Sam Hilliard was the one that got called up. Roberto Ramos, sorry, nice job. He had a really good season, but that's it. Then he doesn't get protected in the Rule 5 draft. The other 29 teams look at a guy who's, his glove is okay. His glove is okay at first base, but is ultimately a DH. They see what he did down in Albuquerque, and they go, no, I'm not going to even bother taking a flyer on him. So now Roberto knows, all right, well, it looks like I got to bet on myself, because Daniel Murphy's there at first base. Brendan Rodgers, if he comes back midseason or earlier than that and plays second base, Ryan McMahon's going to be over at first base. They could work out a three-way platoon between those three guys. Where am I going to go? I've proven myself in AAA, right? And I got Grant Levine. I've got Tyler Nevin. I've got Michael Toglia. These young guys kind of breathing down my neck. So, all right, I got to go to Korea, make a name for myself, and maybe in a couple years, if it even takes that long, I can come back like Eric Thames did with Milwaukee, right? It was unprecedented ultimately when he got a 3-year deal from Milwaukee, because not a lot of guys from the KBO got that kind of, attention, because it is a feeder to Japan. So it's like, if you do it in Japan, great. Come on over. If you're an American ball player, we'll give you another shot. You proved yourself. You worked out the mechanics. You could watch a guy on film, halfway across the world and go, all right, I think this guy, his stuff is going to play. He's going to be able to make the adjustments he needs to in America. But to do it in Korea, it's like picking a guy from AA and go, he can immediately make an impact on our team in the majors. The Rockies don't do it. And very few teams do that, because very few guys can make that jump from AA to the major. So
Right.
Ramos is going to look to try to do that, and he's one of those, I think, key players that we were all watching on late Monday night. He's a member of Ryan Koenigberg's favorite team, the LG Twins. So every time Ramos was up, we were going back and forth. Hey, Ramos is up. The Mariachi Masher, he's up there. Goes and delivers, hits 2 doubles, and it's like, we're all in. We are all in on the KBO.
All right, so we got to decide that. And Prof. Nuggy is saying the NC Dinos are Dinger's cousin. I know these seem to be the two most popular teams in the early going here. We got the LG Twins and the DC Dinos. We want to hear from other people if you've got ideas about who we can sort of adopt as the official KBO team of DNVR. I like the Twins unis. I like our boy Roberto Ramos. I'm a big Hyun-Soo Kim fan. More on that in just a minute. And also, I think it was Chawan Su was the lefty pitcher for the Twins. I was impressed. I was very impressed with that curveball. That thing was wicked. He had no command of his fastball, but that's it's conversation for another time. We'll worry about that later. That hook was filthy. So Will's going in for the NC Dinos. We got to figure this out. What's the reason other than the Dino? I mean, the Dino link, is that strong enough? Really? Is that?
Those are the two with the Twins. Also, our guy Joey Mellows is an LG Twins fan. So I'm kind of inclined to be like, all right, if that's who you're digging on, that's good. NC Dinos, that's actually they're a newer team, so they're an expansion, right? They were new, I think, in I don't know, maybe 2013, because that's who Eric Thames got his start with. So he was a Dinos guy. And last year, the Dinos actually had Eddie Butler and Christian Friedrich. So you look at that. They've got the light blue, the little powder blue unis, and I'm kind of leaning towards NC Dinos too. I haven't decided yet. I haven't jumped off. There have been some other teams. I think like the Kiwoom Heroes have they have a lot of really good young players. Like 4 of the top 10 guys that are like under 25 years old are on the Heroes. So you're like, ooh, you like that? Maybe I'm okay with not winning this year because I plan on taking KBO for the long haul. That's okay. I'll make the investment now and go with a young team, and they're going to win in the future. But I'm not a big fan of maroon, so I'm kind of out.
Sorry, Heroes. Oh, for sure.
You just said the Twins. They've got like those thicker pinstripes. I like those. They're different, right? Dino's got the light blue. So I'm down to those two. Is that where you're at? Are you on Twins, Dinos?
I think so. I think I got to decide between those two, but I want to give other teams a little bit of a look. We'll go around. I thought the Bears had a clean look. I thought they had a couple of interesting guys, but I was just so into watching what the Twins were doing. I was down with the Bears that whole game. So it's hard to buy in on two teams playing each other at once.
Do you remember the 2018 playoffs when everything was this construction company in South Korea, Doosan, sponsoring the 2018 MLB playoffs? Doosan Bears. So I think that might be a subliminal thing. It's in your head. You're like, oh, I feel like I like the Bears. I don't know why.
I don't know why. There is also something nice about the Dinos being a team name that we don't have in America. We already have Twins. We've got Bears. Obviously, it's in the NFL, but those are more, I do like that might help the Dinos win out for me, honestly, is like, why do we not have more dinosaurs? I guess we have Raptors in the NBA. Is that the only one? It's a dinosaur-based pro sports team here.
That would be the only one that I can think of. But I like the fact that they're generic with dinos. But then their mascot, the Swole Daddy, is
Swole Daddy.
It's not a brontosaurus because I think brontosaurus is not a real dinosaur.
Oh, Brachiosaurus?
Yes. I think now when we were kids growing up, and a lot of other people, this might blow their mind. I think what happened was we're getting into paleontology. Let's do it. All right. I'll be the Ross Geller for this episode. Hope you got that reference out there. So anyway, yes, there was a paleontologist who found a bone, misidentified it, and said, "Oh, it's this new species, Brontosaurus." So that's what we thought the ones with the big necks are. And it's like, no, it's actually a Brachiosaurus. So I like that they didn't go with the obvious, oh, we got to be a Tyrannosaurus Rex. We got to be a raptor. No, they were a Brachiosaurus. I like that. Right? And a herbivore. I was going to say vegetarian. No, a herbivore. I like that. Just like Dinger is a herbivore. So they would get along really well.
Wow. and that is your Rockies baseball paleontology analysis for the day. I do need to mention, speaking of while you're getting into new teams and dinosaur based, are the Colorado Raptors rugby team, are those birds of prey, not dinosaurs?
But they are related, right? The birds are related to dinosaurs. But yes, we're talking about raptors like hawks, eagles, kestrel, peregrine falcons, things of that nature. Yeah.
So they'll be back at some point, and you want to be prepared to watch them. And rugby is going to be coming back soon across the world. Our guy Colton Strickler's got you covered with 101 pods to break the game down for you. Make sure you check those out as soon as you're done listening to this. It's a really, really fun sport. I highly recommend you getting into it. And if it's within your means, maybe go get yourself some Colorado Raptors gear. They got super great, super fly looking gear. People will be like, what is that, man? That team looks cool. And then you'll have to tell them that you're a longtime rugby fan, and you'll explain the game to them because you've been checking out Colton's podcast. So, yeah, that should be a good time for everybody. We've got watches on the weekends that we've been doing. Hit me up. I've been watching rugby. I won't be able to answer the questions, but I'll be able to tell you who some of my favorite players are. Jumping back into it, Will mentions here, there's one thing I've noticed with the Americans who are calling these KBO games. A lot of South Korean names are said with their surname first, and literally none of these announcers do that.
Yeah, I think that's commonplace in America because in a lot of the Asian countries, their last name goes first. So it's like the former Diamondbacks and Rockies pitcher Byung-Young Kim. Byung-Young is essentially the name that was chosen for him by his parents. Kim was not chosen because that was essentially his surname. So in South Korea, it would be Kim, comma, or actually no, it would just be Kim Byung-Young. But in America, we switch it like that. So yeah, that's an interesting cultural thing. Should we be saying Kim Byung-Young, or is that okay?
Suzuki Ichiro. Yeah,
I don't know that the same thing applies for Japanese, but yes.
There is oftentimes,
That's true because when he was in Japan, he did have Ichiro on his back. So you might be right. Yeah. Well, I just said Asia, and then you go Ichiro. Like, but that's the exception. No, you're right. Sorry, I'm out. I'm giving myself a 2-minute timeout.
I wasn't 100% sure. I'm just gonna say, but right. I did take a couple of years of Japanese in college. I don't remember much of it, but that's just one of those things. There's all kinds of weird little, cultural things like that. Like it's not even called Japan. That's not the name of the country. It's Nihongo. So that's what they call it. They don't use the word Japan the same way in Germany. They call it Deutschland. They don't call it Germany. We have so some of that's just part of what we do.
What is it again in Japan? I've never heard this. I assume they would have said Nippon, but no.
Yeah, Nippon is kind of the super English way of pronouncing, but it's Nihongo is actually how it's spelled. It's pronounced a little tighter than that. Nihongo, is probably how it would be. But yeah, that's the name of the country. It's Japan is just an American thing we made up. So getting into paleontology, the etymology of different countries' names today, covering a lot of ground on the podcast.
You will learn some things on the DNVR Rockies pod, especially if we're talking KBO.
So I know this rumor had been out there a bit, and we got that girl Christy bringing us news in the comments section, saying that MLB has reportedly told its players that July 1st could possibly be the opening date for Major League Baseball. We'll get more and more into that. I want to check. There's even in that headline, could be a possibility, are words that people like us use when we've got pretty good sources but are trying to cover our ass because we don't know for 100% sure that a thing is going to happen. I will just say we've heard those same rumors. We've heard from some of the ball players who've come out and said it. We've talked to some people who've mentioned that time frame as something baseball would very much like to do. But until they really make an official announcement, I don't want to dive too much into speculating on whether or not that will be true or what that means. Like, I guess what I'll say very briefly in the interim is that seems a reasonable possibility. And we have heard that as well. And we will be as excited as anybody 100% if there will be baseball back. It'll be interesting to see. I don't know what our role in this will be. If media will be allowed, if they're playing all the games in one area. Those are the kinds of details I want to know before we are able to, really give full analysis on that. Beyond, it would be great if baseball came back and it was safe and everyone could do it. Beyond that, we'll have we'll be able to break down the details once there are details, and that'll be fun.
Yeah, ramping up just means, hey, they definitely need to get a lot of plans in place. So if it, I mean, it's insane. When we talked to Kyle Kercheval on Monday, I don't know if this was on air or after, but it was just this general idea of how much goes into preparing a season, forgetting even just about the merchandising and making sure you got enough food in the ballpark for the fans, because supposedly there'll be no fans, but there are so much that goes into the logistics that have to be planned. So in a best case scenario, MLB is working their butt off right now for July 1st. It might not be July 1st. They'll know that much, much closer to the end of this month if that happens, or maybe in a couple weeks. But yeah, we've got a way to go, and I hope that this rumor has some legs to it, right? Because hey, so and so are in talks, a free agent in a team, they're negotiating. Will it get there? Will it take the final steps to get over the line? In this case, we hope so. We hope so. So we'll obviously keep you posted with DNVR Rockies. As the news continues to break regarding Major League Baseball.
And also, not that they need our plug, but great work by our friends, of course, Jake and John Boy, sitting down with Trevor Pluff, and to some degree, I don't know, breaking that story, but having the first kind of big conversation about it. It's always funny when I see that stuff, and then I look at the bottom and go, "Oh," and now he's just going to go hang out with our guy Jake, chat about it. I do want to do, well, first of all, I do want to give a shout out to another one of our great local business partners. They've been around since 1972. We're talking about Denver Rubber Company. They remain open to supply products to other essential businesses: medical, military, defense, government, wind energy, food and beverage industries. You can support a lot of different people by supporting Denver Rubber Company, including yourself, for whatever needs you may have. We might still have another snow in us out there somewhere to get your snowplow needs taken care of, but they got all kinds of other stuff. You can get custom cut rubber, foam gaskets, hose assemblies, metal parts. All of the stuff is precise, manufactured to your specific needs. Really, they can do just about anything you need them to do. These guys are wizards with the material. Give them a call today for any of these kinds of needs at 1-800-259-0010, or visit them at drcfirst.com/DNVR. I'm going to wrap this thing up here, and before the Avs guys come on and kick us off of the live channel, and give a few more thoughts on the KBO. Again, we're going to have a lot of time to dive into it here over these next couple of weeks while it's still the only baseball going on. Even if Major League Baseball can get ramping up soon, it's still going to be it's going to be a month before we even start seeing spring training type of games. So we're going to be doing KBO. Please let us know what team you're rooting for. Check out my article on my boy Hyun-Soo Kim. I'm really looking forward to finding more of these guys who, dude hits a big oppo jack. Plug his name into Wikipedia. Oh man, he got a cup of coffee with Baltimore and with Philadelphia, and actually put up some pretty decent numbers and played a part in Major League Baseball history at one point. Go check out the article. But kind of helped set some records. And then you look at his numbers and you go, what? Why is this dude not still hanging around in Major League Baseball? And I want to do some more research and see if we can find out exactly why that's the case. But then you also look like he signed I think it was a 4-year, $10.7 million contract at 30 years old to go back to the KBO. So yeah, so do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing with a lot of these players is if you want to make it, if you want to be successful in America, you essentially have to take a step back financially, right? For less money. And now you got to prove yourself. So it's, and man, it, pride and, stature is really important in a lot of different cultures. And so I think it's hard for players to get out of their comfort zone. They push themselves less. I mean, look at Nolan Arenado. He should be pretty darn comfortable, and yet he goes out and he cuts a whole bunch of stuff out of his diet to try to get more out of his body to take it to the next level, and he's pushing himself out of his comfort zone. And so, for these players that come from Asia, it's like, well, shoot, I'm a superstar here in Japan. I'm beloved. If I go to America, there's probably more of a chance that, something, this doesn't play out for me. Like, there are very sad tales of players coming to America not having success, and the two that come to mind are both Japanese players who both play with the Yankees. Kiyagawa is a guy who, he was signed at the exact same time as Daisuke Matsuzaka, or rather, the Red Sox got Matsuzaka, who was a big young prospect. He was going to be a stud, threw the quote unquote gyro ball. And the Yankees said, well, we got to get the next best guy. Threw a whole bunch of money at him. And the dude did not play well at all and was relegated to the minor leagues the rest of his career, even though he had a couple decent seasons in AAA. It was at that point, we want to forget about you. But if you want to keep coming to America, you can, and you're still going to get paid several $1 million. That was the better of the two stories. The one that you can look it up if you'd like. I don't know how much of it is out there, but ultimately is the story of Hideki Arabu, who was originally signed by the Padres, and the Yankees and George Steinbrenner kind of found out a way to wrangle him away from the Padres, pitch for the Yankees. I think it was Steinbrenner who called him a fat toad. And, he had a couple of decent seasons, was traded to Montreal. And by the time his career finished up in America, was okay, but he wasn't Hideo Nomo. And because he wasn't Hideo Nomo, didn't have that successful career, he very much felt shamed. And unfortunately, he took his own life because of,
Oh, wow.
Because of everything that, is encapsulated with going from a safe place to a place in which you got to prove yourself again, and bringing dishonor to yourself and your name and your family, and now part of your legacy. And yeah, very, very sad story. So you can kind of understand why so many of these guys go, I got up really good in Japan. Hey, I started out in the KBO. Maybe I make the World Baseball Classic team, which that's one of the exciting things, is that next year, come February and March, you're sitting around at a bar, you're at our bar, DNVR bar, and you're saying, hey, dude, you're on DraftKings, you're making a bet, full well that the guy that's on the bump is going to win that game against Cuba, because you were already scouting them now. We all like to be the smart guy talking about the young prospects, talking about the Terran Vavra, talking about Garrett Hampson before he comes up and he jumps through the higher levels of the minors, and talk about him, before he gets to the show. How much before you get to the show can you get than knowing players in South Korea? That's baller. So invest your time now. You got nothing else going on. You might as well tap into the KBO with us.
Find the next Son Wano, baby.
Bingo.
It's been so much fun to watch, and yeah, I think those stories are going to be really interesting to follow. The more guys we're going to learn. Actually, this guy did play a little bit, or he had a shot, or maybe the younger guys, because maybe he will one day get to that point. There are so many, and then like you said, this guy I was checking out that I wrote the article on. I didn't put this in there. Hyun-Soo Kim, or Kim Hyun-Soo, I'm not sure, has played in the WBC a couple of times and in the Olympics a couple of times. And so I'll know him the next time I see him. There he is. That's my guy. We're going to try to keep profiling in a good way. That word has extra meaning. We're going to continue to write up profiles of some of the most interesting players that come across, some of the teams, some of the things that happen, our takeaways. Patrick, before we have to sign off here, do you have any other favorite thing about these first couple of KBO experiences from watching it?
Well, I've really enjoyed, the interactions with some folks on Twitter. Some of our subscribers, of course, have been doing that, but just everybody in the baseball community really getting excited for it. As I mentioned, the Chinese Professional Baseball League has been going for a month, and I was going to get into it. That was my intent, but there wasn't a lot of support on Twitter. The baseball community didn't really seem to care too much, but people are really seeming to run the KBO, and that's the nice thing that baseball brings to all of us is a sense of community. And we've got that right now. We've got an opportunity to capitalize that on the KBO. So, whether you're staying up late, there's not going to be a lot of opportunities to stay up late. I know that I previewed the schedule for the upcoming week, and outside of that opening day was a day game, and that was Tuesday. They don't typically play on Mondays. I think that's something that they've worked out. They're going to play on some Mondays. Usually that's an off day, but if they're going to squeeze in 144 games, they may have to play Mondays. So there's not going to be a lot of opportunities to watch games at 11 p.m. Maybe only twice a week. The rest of them are going to be at 3:30 a.m. our time. So either you
Oof.
stay up late or you go to bed now. You can get up at 3:30, have your cup of coffee, and you watch some night baseball. So really, the Suns won't be up here in Colorado. The sun won't be up over there in Seoul or Daegu, wherever it may be. And you can watch some baseball, and it can matter. And you can bet about it on DraftKings too if you want.
Right.
That's how you know it matters. If you can put some money down on the line, you might want to do that.
You can find those lines, and,
Makes
and
it
they're
fun.
there, and it does make it fun. And yeah, and it really is like quality baseball. There's if you haven't watched before, if you're thinking, ah, man, it's not real, it's not as good as the good boys, like maybe not quite MLB caliber, but uh, I tell you, if you weren't impressed by my man's filthy hook in that game, then that baseball itch isn't quite needing to be scratched enough for you. I don't think, because that pitch alone was worth the price of admission. So
And think about this, and this is you might not want to think about it, to be honest, but if MLB doesn't get off the ground, if America does have trouble keeping COVID-19 under wraps, this is going to be the only baseball, and you don't want to be late to the party. So
right,
get it on the ground floor now. And again, to go back to the analogy of minor leagues, right? Like, hey, that's your community. Those are your guys that you grew up. Even if you've moved away, that's your favorite minor league team. Well, there's never been a time, never. There just never has been a time in which the world has been one community. It's been one neighborhood. Never.
right.
And now is one of those times. So go on and root for our brothers and sisters in South Korea. Follow the KBO. Pick a team. If you can find a fantasy baseball league out there, holy smokes, that's worth its weight in gold. We'll jump in on that bad boy.
I was going to say,
But
maybe we should start one. Let us know, folks. Maybe there's a way we can figure that out. Let us know how we can make this more fun for you, because it's baseball and it's back, and there's baseball to watch, and we're all very excited.
amen. It's the church of baseball, but it just happens to be in another country.
100%. So keep it tuned here. Like I said, let us know. Let us know what team you want us to follow most closely, what players you'd like to see profiles on, and all of that good stuff. Make sure you're following us on all the social media. You're subscribed to the DNVR.com. You got yourself some merch. You're helping out all of our sponsors during this time because they've got good products and because it helps us out as well. We can only say, keep being awesome out there and watching KBO baseball and bringing us all your thoughts, questions, and comments. We will keep listening to all of that and being Patrick Lyons and Drew Kreisman. And until next time, we will see you at the ballpark. Peace.